gosh. Leo, Sagittarius, and what is the third one? Oh my god, I'm drawing a blank. It's too early in the morning for this. I'll figure it out. I know I start with Leo. What is my other fire sign? Oh, Aries. I start with Aries. I don't even start with Leo. It's Aries, Leo, and then Sag. So, I should know that. My rising is an Aries sign. Ugh, I'm ding dong. Okay, so it's good morning. Let's all have another sip of coffee. Yesterday, I've been doing these live early in the morning because yesterday it seems as though my internet works better early in the morning and it doesn't drop. So yesterday during Pisces, during the water signs, the internet dropped towards the end of Pisces. So I'm going to try and get through this. Hopefully my internet doesn't drop. Everybody say a prayer. We're going to just find out what is in store. This is a general reading for the broader collective. Could you all lay down and quit huffing and puffing? The dogs are here with me, sorry. For the general collective, so these are broad, loose parameters that you'll be working with. If any of your signs, if any of your planets are in these signs, like if you have a moon in Sagittarius, you may want to watch Sagittarius. If you have a rising in Leo, you may want to watch Leo, coupled with your birth sign, your sun sign. You can kind of get a cross section. Air and water have been done. They're already on my YouTube channel. Please like, share, comment, subscribe if you feel interested in doing that, especially over at YouTube as I build subscribers over there. Hit the notification bell so you get notified when I go live like this. I don't have a chat up, so anybody that's commenting on Facebook right now, please feel free to do so. I'm just not able to see it right now because I feel like it keeps my internet connection from dropping because less things on my computer are running, if that makes sense. So I'm going to just flip cameras and get started and go right into Aries, okay? And thanks for joining me, you guys, for tuning in this morning. Hopefully we have a nice, clear, strong signal. Okay, so I'm going to shuffle. Ways you can support the channel. I just always say this for those of you that are interested. I have a Patreon page over at patreon.com. It's a monthly subscription service where you do get the daily forecast and other readings that are only available over there for different levels of subscription service. So that's available to you, and that's one way to support me on a monthly basis. Booking a private reading is another great way to do that. You can always do that through my Facebook business page. Please give it a like and hit the bell there too, so you get notified when I go live over there. Follow my Instagram at AngleGuys333. I'm not the biggest Instagram poster, but it is another place where you can find contact with me. What else? Please share out videos if you know other air sign or other fire signs, or if you have, if you're a fire sign and you like this video, send your friends that like Tarotscopes to my other signs. If you have a good Judy or a good girlfriend that's an air sign, send her to see the Gemini. If you know any Scorpios, just offhand, Scorpio's reading from yesterday felt very transformative and beautiful. So Scorpio's in for a big month in June. But let's see what Aries has coming. So this is for all of those with Aries, sun, moon, or rising, or significantly placed planets in the sign of Aries. And as I said, I have an Aries rising. And let's just say hello to that oncoming new moon tonight in Gemini. Hey, Gemini! So we have a new moon, all about creation, new energy. What do we want to bring in? What do we want to start to create for ourselves? Okay. Now this first card represents sort of where my Aries are going to be sort of at during the month of June, going in and out of this space throughout the month of June. It's not like you're totally where you're going to be, but it gives me an overall view of sort of what the general feeling of June will be for you guys, where you'll be centered at, and what it also tells me is a little bit about what we could potentially be creating for the future. That's kind of the key with this card. Can you please lay down? The walking back and forth is just working my puss. Thank you, bud. Okay, so this is the Two of Swords. Two of Swords generally represents kind of not being seen to me or not being able to see everything clearly. There's usually, I believe, a woman depicted with a blindfold on, that sort of thing. In this deck, that's not the design, but what I'm going to say here is what this looks like to me is I feel like my Aries aren't having it this month. I feel like my Aries might be struggling in June with either situations or specific people that are important to them uh, during the month of June, going in and out of these struggles. I feel like this struggle is not necessarily a bad thing. I feel like it's about Aries being very clear about their boundaries in certain relationships, with certain situations. This could be work related, this could be family related. But to me, when I look at this card, there's this distinct feeling of no. And that's those crossed swords, right? I don't think that this is bad for my Aries. I think this is, instead of us engaging and fighting, it's us drawing boundaries and backing away, is the vibe that I'm getting from this. These two people here that are kind of faced in different directions also make me feel like there's sort of a bit of a power struggle going on. Twos represent couplings generally as a rule. And they also represent sometimes, for me, when we couple with ourselves deeper, right? When we get a better understanding of where we're at. And swords is the element of air, which is our intellect or our mind. So this is understanding a little bit more in our thoughts, maybe digging through some of our more negative or frustrated thoughts or anxious thoughts around particular situations or people, and kind of closing ourselves off to them. I don't feel like it's a bad closing off. I actually feel like this is sort of an empowered card in the sense that you're like, no, I'm not going to do this bullshit anymore with you or with this situation, whatever that may be. This is a broad reading for a lot of people. So let me let the cat out of these animals. It's just too. It's just too many animals. It's like Animal Crossing around this house. So that's kind of where I feel like my Aries are going to be at, or where you guys might be experiencing throughout the month of June. But I think that this is a good thing for you guys. I think that this is in some ways a little bit of a purge of situations that might have been causing you frustration, aggravation, that sort of a thing. And so this to me feels like a strong stance. It's not necessarily your home suit of fire, but it is the complementary suit of air, which feeds the fire, right? Air feeds fire. You need oxygen to make fire burn. So Aries being a fire sign, this is a very supportive energy to your sign, if that makes sense. But I wouldn't be surprised if you guys had a little bit of reluctance or aversion towards situations and people around you in the month of June. But this is more about, I think, from this aversion, from this like these crossed swords that we're seeing here, what ends up happening is we get clearer mentally on what it is we want in our life. And by saying no to some things, we're allowed to say yes to others. And what ends up happening is I think that we end up actually deepening our relationship to self, or our intellectual understanding of ourselves in a kind of profound way. Like it's like we learn what we want by knowing what we don't want, if that makes sense. Now, the next card is what I call the foundation card. This card gives me a little insight into what was going on previous, in like maybe the months previous leading up to this moment, and why things are the way that they are. It's also sort of the memory of this card that keeps everything in place. So this is the Empress. Okay, so the Empress is always about, like, she's one of the most feminine energies of the deck, I feel like. She represents creativity, fertility, abundance in a lot of ways, opulence, that sort of thing, especially with this particular card. When I look at her, there's so much going on in this card. Even there's like art in the background with the leaves on the wall and the fans and the servants and all of that sort of stuff. So there's a definite decadence that's happening in this card. And I feel like what this says to me, being in this position with that Two of Swords up there, is that there was a time previous to this where you were felt honored. You felt aware of your worth, aware of your sort of value, right? And I feel like the memory of this is what's sort of engaging you guys to put a stop to sort of the things that aren't honoring that part of you, if that makes sense. The Empress is major arcana, so she has a bigger energy to her than the minor cards, or the I don't know, I think they're called the trump cards. So to me, the Empress would be about feeling more alive, feeling more abundant, feeling more just like things were clicking in place, right? Things were being almost like situations were being brought to you without much effort. Creativity was flowing through you. Ideas were coming quicker, that sort of a thing. And I think that her sitting here driving you forward is producing this need for you to say no to certain situations that are not honoring the Empress, so to speak, within you, right? For some of my, uh, what do I want to say, like my more bitchy Aries, there is this Empress within you that is not being honored maybe throughout the month of June, and she's in the background kind of reminding you, do you remember when things were really good? Do you remember when we were really creative? Do you remember when we had the freedom to sort of do what we wanted the way that we wanted? And from that memory, or from that sort of desire to get back to that place or to that feeling that this Empress represents, we're drawing the line in the sand with this Two of Swords. Does that? I hope that makes sense to you guys. The next card is the Spirit or Soul card. I also have to say this, with her being in the foundation position, this is a strong card to have as a foundation. I feel like she leads us to positive outcomes. She's nurturing, she's creative, she's all of these things. So there was a period of time where you felt much more nurtured by life. Right now you may not. It might feel like a bit of a dry spell with this Two of Swords in the center. But with her as the memory or the driving force, the foundation of this reading for the month of June, it says to me that the idea is that my Aries want to get back there, right? To this sort of feeling, this abundance, this opulence, this honor. And I believe that that's quite possible with her in this position, if that makes sense. She's a strong card to have down here in this foundation. So take heart in the fact that even if it feels a little bit rough or annoying through June with certain situations, you are kind of being driven by this Empress energy. So that's a really strong, powerful, creative force to be propelling you guys forward. All right, so this next card is your Spirit or Soul card, and it tells me a bit about sort of what your soul wants you to focus on or work on during the month of June. So this is the Eight of Swords, and if you look here, there's a gentleman sort of helping a man on the ground. To me, eights are all about balance, and again, swords is that element of air, right? Swords is the mind, and we have this Two of Swords as our center, and our soul or spirit is asking us to like sort of have this focus on the Eight of Swords, which would be also the mental realm. To me, eights bring in balance. They bring in sort of a bit of harmony, right, within our mind. They bring us up to the nines and tens of the numbered cards, right, which lead to like personal, and then personal completion is generally 9, and then communal completion and finishings of cycles is 10. So 8 is about sort of getting all of our ducks in a row, or our thoughts in a row, and understanding that situations that we might be sort of shutting ourselves off to, or no longer allowing to take hold in our space, is enabling us to kind of find a clearer perspective mentally that brings us into balance. It doesn't mean that we have to be open to these situations. What I think it means is that we get to create safe spaces mentally in the month of June where we can be compassionate when we want to towards others. That's these two soldiers, this one soldier sort of bending over helping this other one. But we also don't have to let it consume us. We don't have to let it take over our space. We don't have to sacrifice ourselves. This Empress is not about sacrifice, guys. She's about being sort of waited on. She's about being taken care of, babied, loved. My Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, right? So you guys are like the children of the zodiac in that way, that fiery, demanding energy of, I'm trying to remember what Aries, is it I demand? It's not I demand. I don't, but and sometimes Aries can have that sort of, they want things the way that they want them, right? And so this is a little bit about that, but I feel like this is about mentally getting clear, cutting ourselves off to things that are no longer serving us, and then sort of working on finding balance within our mind so that we can be available to some situations when we choose to be, right? And that's also part of this Empress energy here, is honoring that part of us that was being honored back when, that we maybe lost sight of. Maybe it was the pandemic, maybe it was, a breakup or a loss of a job or any one of those sort of fallout situations where we start to lose sense of who we are or how we feel, we're not feeling very honored, we might feel like we're struggling. This is kind of like what I want to say is take heart in the fact that if some of you do feel like you're struggling with situations or you're aggravated by life right now, that's okay, because this is leading you to this place of sort of balance with this desire to get back to this idea of being honored yet again. And you will. That's the strength of this Empress as your foundation. Now, the next two cards are the outside influences. These cards are things that are influencing you that you should be made aware of in the month of June. They could be either positive or negative. Some can they can represent as people, sometimes events, sometimes things more vague like energies or belief systems that we've been taught or have learned along the way that we've adopted that are not of us. They just kind of were taught to us and we're utilizing them as if they're, fact, right? So let's see what they are. So we have the Queen of Swords. I'm going to say this right out of the gate. The minute I see the Queen of Swords, I feel like this is somebody's mother. I don't know if some of my Aries are struggling with their mother. Excuse me. For those of you that are not struggling with your mother, this is a very significant woman in your life. I certainly feel that. It doesn't have to be a woman. It could be a male, but because court cards generally represent that. Queens represents the element of water, right? And then the swords is the element of air or the intellect again. You've got a lot of swords energy going around you. There's a lot of thought. There's a lot of mind games possibly with this woman. She could be potentially emotional. She could be the type of woman that gets emotional with you and then uses logic to throw you off of your balance. And this could be, for some of you, this could be a partner, a female partner, right? Or maybe a good girlfriend. She thinks of herself a bit of an authority. And it's interesting to me because it almost feels like this Queen of Swords is in duel with this Empress. If that makes any sense to you guys. Do you see what I'm talking about here? So what I feel like is there was a period of time in our past where we felt more equal to this woman, or how do I want to put this? Like, there was an equality going on in this relationship. Now, this relationship for many of you could be a boss-worker relationship or a love relationship. I don't know. You have to define that relationship for yourself, right? This could be your relationship with your mother or your older sister. This woman here thinks of herself a bit of an authority. And I feel like she's not only is she maybe playing on your emotions, she might be playing on your thoughts, your mind, how you think. She may undermine certain things. She sort of doesn't want her looking away. It feels to me like she doesn't want you to see this Empress part of yourself. I don't believe that this woman, the Queen of Swords, is not a malicious card by any means, but I do feel like this woman, whoever she may be in your life, or this person, whoever they may be in your life, in the month of June, they are, I feel like their desire for you is they want the best for you, but maybe what they want for you is not actually the best, and they don't understand that, right? They may think differently than you. They may have experienced different things. That's why they feel older to me, like maybe a mother, a boss, an older sister, somebody that's had experiences that they think that they know better. They think that they can teach you. They think that they can show you the way. But it's like you've already been there. And you've been there in better terms, I feel like, than she's actually experienced, if that makes any sense at all. And maybe, even though you've lost those terms or that connection to it over the course of whatever events have transpired in the last few months, I get this feeling that she doesn't want to honor that aspect of you, whoever this woman is. So keep on the lookout, Aries, for a fairly intellectual woman. She may not be completely, I'm not feeling that she's super aggressive to you. I feel that she might be connected to you emotionally and mentally, and she uses her intelligence to kind of guide you, but her guidance isn't like what's most beneficial for you, if that makes sense. I feel like sometimes she may say the wrong thing or upset you in some way. That's this Two of Swords happening. So let's see what the other outside influence is this month. Wow. So we have the Queen of Chalices. We have double water on this side. She's also facing away from you. Let me look at this for a minute. I'm going to say this. My initial reaction to this is I think that this is one woman's energy completely around my Aries. I almost feel like my Aries are dealing with their mother. And the reason why I say this is I feel like both of these women are facing away. This Queen of Wands represents queens, like I said, represent the element of water, which is emotions. And then the sword is the intellect, right? So that's why I was saying she's attached to you emotionally and intellectually. She may spar with you. There's definitely a pull there. That's why I think this is, somebody close to you. A mother, an older sister, a potential girlfriend, whatever my Aries are dealing with right now. And like I said, I feel like she means well, but she sort of either she withdraws her attention, she offers her suggestions when they're not taken, she might get annoyed, a little bit upset. And then over here we have the Queen of Chalices. Chalices is also water, and Queen represents water, which to me this is a lot of emotions. So that's why I feel like whoever this woman is, because I feel like both of these cards actually represent one woman, my Aries are deeply connected to this woman in the month of June. Because we have so much emotional and mental, and then you have all of this sword stuff. So your spirit's wanting you to sort of balance your thoughts maybe around this situation, around this woman. Do you understand what I'm saying, Aries? I hope this is making sense. You guys will have to leave me a comment. This might only be for a few specific of you, but this is the message that's going on. So those of you that might be dealing with a female boss or a female that is very significant in your life, that is attached to you emotionally, mentally, and I feel like she sometimes pulls the rug out from under you guys, or she shifts and changes. That's these turned backs on either side of you. And that's why I feel like she's significant, because she's all around you. I have to say this, I've never seen both outside influences represent as one person, but that's the distinct feeling I'm getting, is I feel like these cards are connected. I mean, for some of you, who knows, maybe it's two older sisters, right? But it's still that same connection of family, blood ties. You all have been around each other. Emotionally, you're charged and connected to both of them. I mean, there might be a specific Aries or two out there watching this that are like, oh my God, those are my two sisters that drive me nuts. But whatever this is the same energy. It's the same woman, it's the same family, they're connected. They're doing the same thing, and they're affecting you sort of in the same way, if it's not just all this one woman. Does that make sense? You guys will have to leave me a comment, because I've never really seen that before, and that's sort of what I'm feeling from this card, is that this is how do I want to say, like, I feel like this is an important energy for you guys to get boundaries around, balance out, and get back to your own sort of honoring of self. I feel like maybe with this person, you have been sacrificing yourself within the relationship, and it's getting too hard, it's getting unbearable. And it's funny to me, because both of these queens do not want to honor this Empress that's down here in the foundation. I don't mean that in a bad way, I just feel like they both feel to me like they're like, no, we don't see her, that's not who we know, we see you as this. And I have to say this, anytime that this woman tells you how she sees you, and this is why it kind of feels like maybe a mother to me, it sort of like cuts to the bone, because it's like, you're like the feeling that I get is like, Jesus, bitch, you don't know me yet? Excuse my language, but it's sort of like, that's the frustration in this Two of Swords. It's like, God, after all of these years, or how long we've been together, you still don't see me, you still don't get it. That makes sense. I don't know. You guys will have to let me know. All right, so this last card is the potential outcomes card for the month of June. This is not set in stone, guys. This just gives us a little idea of how June will end out for the majority of you. It is not, like I said, not set in stone. We do have free will and free choice to make choices and changes. If this card is negative and we don't want to have this transpire or come to pass, we can utilize this card as a warning to make choices and changes in our life, so that this doesn't come to pass, but if this card is good and beneficial, we can take heart in the fact that we're naturally heading towards this energy, and we don't have to do much to get there. It's just automatically kind of in the pipe on the way. Interesting. It's the Five of Swords. A lot of swords energies for my Aries. And then I'm going to say this. I'm not concerned by this. What I feel like this is, and look, to me the fives always represent change. And the Five of Swords, those four swords above them going back and forth, but this guy's like kind of climbing over the fence. He's got his pack and he's leaving. And I feel like this is my Aries up here jumping over the fence and deciding to depart this relationship, or at least make changes within this relationship so that they can honor themselves. It may take the full month of June, possibly part of July, to come to terms with whatever this is that you're trying to define boundaries around. Even if this is like, say this is not a specific person, but these are mental and emotional situations that are transpiring in your life that you don't want to be engaged in, that are bringing you aggravation. You are the one that has to sort of draw that line throughout the month of June. And then by month's end in June, you're going to seriously have to make some sort of changes in how you think, in how you operate within these situations, and you guys might find yourself removing yourself completely. I don't think that this is a bad card. I think that this is a card that requires a lot of thought throughout the month of June, a lot of sort of like self-preservation in a way, placing oneself first as if you're the Empress, even if you haven't been treated that way in quite some time. You're going to need to protect yourself. And what I mean by protect yourself is not necessarily from these situations, but like you're not victim to these situations, right? But if you get caught up in the negativity and the anger and the aggression or the fieriness, because you're already predetermined, like fire nature, right? You can be an Aries and be a little bit impulsive, and that's what's great because you're dynamic and all of that. But if this is getting you down, if this is eating away at you, you have to be mindful of that. Treat yourself as if you are royalty, like this Empress. Protect her. Put up these swords. Seek balance in the month of June. By the end of June, you may have to actually make mental, conscious changes towards moving yourself to different situations, different ways of looking at these things, because you don't want to continue to get caught up in the frustration or the anger with whoever this person is or whatever these situations are that seem to trigger you off or have triggered you off in the past. These two queens on either side that have their backs to you, these situations are obviously, they engage with you, but they don't necessarily give you back anything in return. That's those back-turned queens not looking at the boundaries that are being now drawn at this point. I hope that makes sense, you guys. This Five of Swords says to me that changes need to take place. They are going to fall to you guys by month's end, and that you guys are going to actively have to choose like almost the better thinking thought. And in doing so, you may have to remove yourself completely from certain situations or people that get your goat, you know? No pun intended, right, Aries? Get your goat, ba-dum-bum. So, if stuff is getting under your skin, instead of allowing it to aggravate you, it's really key that you step away from that aggravation and clear up your thoughts, get to a more positive place, and let this energy of the Empress come back in. Honor yourself, treat yourself with care, nurture yourself. That's also Empress energy, is nurturing, mothering, that sort of a thing. Bringing that forth for yourself, because it feels like, and that's why this feels like a mother to me, it's like the mothering that we maybe are getting is not enough. We need to provide it for ourselves. I hope that makes sense. Again, if you guys are commenting, I can't see the comments. Please leave a comment and let me know if this makes sense to you if you're an Aries, or if you have significant planets in Aries, maybe this might make sense to you too. Let me know. Please give the video a like, a share, a comment, a subscribe, and I will see you guys next month to see what happens for you then. I am now going to move on to my Leos. Thank you so much for tuning in, you guys, and supporting the channel. All right, Leos, lovely, lovely Leos. My gregarious, wonderful Leonine friends, what is going on for you in the month of June of 2020? Keeping in mind that this is a broad spectrum reading for those with the sign of Leo, Sun, Moon, or Rising, also heavily placed planets in Leo, would want to watch this. Or if you know a Leo that you like or care about, you can watch this on behalf of them to know what's going on with them potentially in the month of June. What do my Leos need to know? Okay, this first card, Leo, is kind of where you're centered at in the month of June. You maybe go in and out of this energy throughout the month of June. It's not necessarily set in stone, right? So just, it's kind of like the theme for June. It gives me a little insight into not only where you're at, but what you could potentially be creating. So let's see what that is. So we have the Three of Cups. This is lovely. Cups is not necessarily your home energy or even your complementary energy, but this is a very emotional energy. It is the sign of the element of water and cups. But Three of Cups is always about celebration. It's about coming together. It's about the enjoyment of friends, family, loved ones, even the enjoyment of ourselves, really relishing in the moment. There's a positivity to this card, so I feel like my Leos are going to be very positively focused in the month of June, and that will be a good thing. Actually, you guys, it's May. Is it May? No. June to July is Cancer, so you guys would be July, August, I think. Okay, so maybe it's because your birthday season will be creeping up after June. I'm not sure, but this is a very celebratory card. This is very much an opportunity. Some of my Leos might be finding opportunities to get back with their loved ones post-pandemic. There could be, I'm actually feeling like some of you might be able to travel to see loved ones. I don't know if any of you have that planned, but there might be even that opportunity. I get that this is just really about enjoying what you have, being appreciative of it, being thankful for it, being just kind of feeling that joy or that like bringing that in around you, right? And that is kind of a Leonine thing. I feel like Leos always have this sort of positive, they're represented by the sun, right? To me, the sun is that sort of golden light that shines out and gives life to everyone. And not like a Leo on their game, they really have the capacity to do that. And so I feel like that's sort of this card in a way as your center is June is going to be a month where you're focused on trying to connect with the people that you love and enjoy them and appreciate them. And through that, you're able to appreciate sort of also yourself and celebrate your own life in whatever ways that may be. If some of you aren't traveling, it could be just through Zoom meetings or the phone. But there feels like there's a concerted effort in making those connections, especially those emotional connections with the people that you love and celebrating them, okay? The next card is the Foundation card. This card tells me a bit about sort of where you're at, or where you were at in the months previous that's led up to these cards today. It's kind of also the memory of this card that holds everything in place. So this is the Emperor. This is the male counterpart to what was in Aries. This is funny. You guys are doing the same thing. You guys are on this similar like fire path. The Emperor is always benevolent and loving. The Empress is more nurturing. To me, the Emperor is more about sort of, he has like a Saturn quality to him. I feel like in the way that Saturn kind of grows us through hard lessons. To me, the Emperor card is about, you have to sort of impress the Emperor. The Emperor is benevolent. He's loving, as is Saturn, right? But he needs you to be the sort of the best possible version of yourself, right? So we're talking about in the past here with this position of this card. To me, my Leos have worked hard is what this says to me. My Leos have sort of accomplished impressing this Emperor or becoming this Emperor, right? Which to me, that's not hard for Leos to do, right? Leos know how awesome they are. They're kind of known for knowing that about themselves. Self-confidence is never really unless your planets like your moon and other planets are in some wonky, stuff that's really counterintuitive to Leonine energy, I feel like my Leos know how to honor themselves. So this uh, Emperor card doesn't even feel like it's necessarily over. Like, this position of this card represents from the past, right? But to me, the sense that I'm getting is that this kind of almost feels like it's not so much in the past, it's just sort of through past experience, you've gotten to this place of doing the right thing, making the right choices, working really hard to get there, putting in your best effort, knowing that, that's this Emperor energy, is like sort of knowing that, the acknowledging of that within yourself, and really adopting that at a deep level and making that your awareness of self, allowing these chicks to fan you, just like the Empress had fanning handmaidens in her card. But you're like, yeah, I'm the Emperor. And also this is the fourth card of the uh, Major Arcana, which to me speaks to that idea. It's technically the fifth because the Fool is 0, but this is the fourth card, the fourth numbered card of the Major Arcana, and fours always bring in this idea of stability, right, in all of the suits. So this Emperor energy is very stable, strong, benevolent, righteous, and I mean righteous in a good way, right? Like, you know your gifts, you know your worth. And so to me, that's what's allowing you to step into the month of June in this celebratory sort of Three of Cups energy of, okay, I've worked really hard the last few months. I've done things the best that I can. I've really done a good job. I've excelled at dealing with whatever I've had to deal with, be it pandemic issues, relationship issues, whatever it is that you guys have faced. You faced it in a very adult, responsible sort of way. That's this Emperor energy. And now with this Three of Cups, to me, it feels like it's time to cut loose a little bit. It's time to kind of enjoy, right? Breathe again. Allow yourself to reconnect emotionally. This Emperor energy, although it's loving and benevolent, I would say, I wouldn't call it loving per se, I would call it more benevolent. Like, the Emperor is always kind and fair, but he's a hard judge, right? It's like we don't take easy routes with the Emperor. So the Emperor says to me, my Leos have put in some hard work in the months previous, right? But you guys have accomplished it. You've gotten done what you needed to do, and you've done it quite well, and your awareness of that is now leading you to this place of being able to celebrate yourself, celebrate those around you, and want to enjoy some of that throughout the month of June. Now, the next card is the Spirit or Soul card. This card tells me about where your spirit or soul is at. Interesting. So we have the Judgment card, guys. So, Judgment, to me, I love this card because it's got all of these angels, if you see them there, and they've all got like horns and things, like they're really celebrating what's going on, who you are. I feel like this being in the soul space says to me that your soul wants you to, I'm going to look at this card just for one more second. What is that like curled up there? I am like blind. Okay, this in the soul space, it makes me feel like, especially with this Emperor in the foundation, it makes me feel like your soul really wants you to kind of understand who you are, appreciating who you are. The Emperor feels like that appreciation, but this Judgment card to me almost feels like spirit, or your own spirit, wanting you to like herald your own gifts and beauty. And I know that that's not something that's usually hard for Leos to do, but there's something about this Judgment card that feels a little bit deeper than, say, the normal Leo gregariousness, if that makes sense. Okay? Coupled with this Three of Cups, coupled with this Emperor as the foundation, to me this Judgment card feels rather profound. It feels rather like my Leos might be able to explore really a deeper understanding of the celebration of who they are in the month of June. Does that make sense, guys? Because this Judgment card is about your spirit wanting you to see yourself as you truly are, good and bad, right? But being able to embrace all of it and celebrate all of it. And that's that Three of Cups energy in the center. There's like some sort of, this Emperor in the foundation is such a nice foundation, solid, major arcana in a big way kind of card coupled with this judgment in the spirit space, it feels like new awarenesses, new appreciations, new truths about who you are as a person are coming forth in June that allow you to have that sort of Three of Cups energy in the center of celebrating yourself and the ones around you. They may even be celebrating you, right? They people might be coming to you and telling you how much they miss you, or how much you help them, or how much they love you, or it's that sort of an energy, right? But to me, this Judgment card, it's this, I keep feeling this, like, I don't even know if profoundness is a word, but this element of, this is a deep, profound awareness of your value. Like, I feel like this is the angels on high, or your own spirit coupled with the angels on high coming down and celebrating you in the month of June. And your spirit wants you to see this. Your spirit wants you to understand this. And it to me, this also being a major arcana card speaks to the idea that it's going to be, again, profound. Like, it's going to be hopefully obvious for my Leos, okay? I hope that makes sense. You'll have to tell me what you guys experience in the month of June. But that, coupled with this, the way that these three cards kind of blend together for me, it speaks to this idea of you really set up to almost like experience new levels of appreciation at a deeper, truer, realer level than you ever have before. Okay? Now, the next two cards are the outside influences. These cards tell me a bit about sort of where everything is, or what is influencing us in the month of June. These can be people, sometimes events, sometimes things more vague like belief systems or energies that are having an effect on us, either positively or negatively, but we want to be made aware of them. So what is the Ace of Pentacles? So aces always bring inspired sort of opportunity with whatever suit that they are in. Pentacles is the element of earth and the sort of financial aspect or material realm. Sometimes, to me, also Pentacles can represent relationships. Cups is also very much relationships too, but to me, I think that Pentacles can be about material relationships that we have in the world. This Ace of Pentacles, to me, is a very beneficial energy coming in. I feel like this is opportunity knocking for my Leos. I feel like this Emperor card as your foundation, right? The Emperor sort of demands, and I'm talking about this in the sense of Leo, is that you guys have demanded out of yourself levels of excellence, let's say, that you maybe didn't think that you could provide, and you were able to, it feels like. Or maybe you've been put through hard situations that you didn't expect you would get through quite so well. To me, this Emperor card feels like you're looking back now and you're reflecting and you're going, well, you know what? I did a damn good job there. I actually have to handle it well. And maybe that realization becomes more and more clear throughout the month of June. That's this Judgment card. This Ace of Pentacles feels like there's opportunity knocking on the material level. So I'm talking about environmental opportunity, inspiration, ways of changing our environment, benefiting our environment that maybe we otherwise didn't normally see, but because we're balanced or we're grounded in this Emperor energy and we have this Judgment card coming in from Spirit, both major arcana players, and this attitude of celebration or enjoyment, abundance, this emotional feeling of well-being and appreciation, I just feel like this Ace of Pentacles just sweeps right in and goes, oh, you called? I'm here. What do we want to do? What do we want to create? What do we want to be inspired by? June is the month to do that, which makes sense because by July, August, you guys will be getting into your birthday period, right? Where your energy is really flowing, and who knows where we're going to be at by July and August, but hopefully it's a place of benefit. This could be new ideas of making money from home. This could be that being that earth element of not only money, but that pentacle element of the home too. I'm hearing that right now as I'm looking at this card. Like Leo might figure out, some of my Leos might figure out inspired ways of making money from their home, right? This is about changing our material environment around us through inspiring and exciting new ways, right? So don't be surprised if opportunities present themselves that we hadn't seen coming. That is sort of also an ace energy. Is kind of, it can be sort of like, oh, whoa, where did this come from? Or how did I get this opportunity? So I feel like this is a very beneficial card. So look for events, opportunities, situations that are able to benefit you. This is the other thing that I'm hearing as I'm saying this to you. Say yes, Leos. Say yes. That's this Three of Cups. It's yes in celebration. There's a yes here in this sort of, it's a more reluctant, discerning yes in this Emperor card. But if you continue to say yes from this feeling good place in the month of June, these opportunities come to you. And if you somehow agree to them, as long as they're feasible, manageable, that sort of thing, they will bring sort of blessings, is my feeling. Okay? The next card, let's see what oh wow, look at this. Ace of Wands. All right, so you guys are surrounded by these two ace energies, one being the realm of earth and the other being the element of fire, right? Which is your guys' home element. Also spirit, right? Wands is fire, Pentacles is earth, and material sort of things and spiritual things. So we have, whoa. Okay, I'm just seeing a weird cross section that's happening here, guys. So Leo, look at this and tell me if this does not make sense. If I'm not making sense, I'm sorry, but I do feel like this is totally what's going on with you. There's a balance happening in the cards. You have Earth here in the Emperor. And what I mean by that, I don't necessarily know that the Emperor is ruled by the element of Earth. I'll have to find that out, but I have a feeling that he is. It being a 4, it sort of feels like he's like a foundation, right? He's built into the earth. He's discerning, he's seated, he's in the earth. He's in your foundation position, right? You have Judgment, which I said about this being in your spirit, the higher realm, right? It's coming in with all of these angels on the card. The Judgment card is usually always depicted with an angel of some sort. This sort of higher awareness, this higher sense of justice or discernment coming in and telling the truth is sort of the realm of this card. This being in your spirit space speaks to this idea of spirit, right? So we have this element of this 4 Emperor Earth, Judgment, Spirit, Angels in the card, right? Heralding your well-being, your ability. You're celebrating in the middle of it all, right? Emotionally feeling good, appreciative, just really taking everything as a blessing. When doing that, in comes this inspired new thought around earth energy in through this pentacle, and then inspired via the wand or spirit energy, which connects to this, is this Ace of Wands. Are you guys seeing this? So to me, it feels like we're working with this element of connecting heaven and earth for ourselves in the month of June. What I mean by that is like heaven representing our spirit, earth representing our material world, bringing the two of those together. I need a sip of coffee. 1 second. I'm getting a tickle at the back of my throat. And I'm going to say this too, Leos, with the major arcana of Judgment and the Emperor above and below you, and the aces as influences, right? Which aces are usually this sort of inspired, new, quick, powerful energy, right? That's coming in from both sides, trying to move you along and help you along. It's like, this is where when we start to say yes to these opportunities, or when we start to sort of open ourselves up to this energy and this opportunity and have it come in, because we know that we've done a good job, we know that we're sort of worthy of it, we're like sort of grounded in that understanding, it's going to show to us exactly how deserving, even more so than we realized. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Now, this next card is the potential outcomes for the month of June for my Leos. This is not set in stone. Through choices and changes, we can affect this outcome at any point in time. If this card is negative, which I have a hard time feeling that it's going to be, and it would be really weird if there was a negative card on this reading, because this reading feels very beneficial. This month feels very optimistic for my Leos. Uh, if this card is negative, we can use this card as a warning to make choices and changes to affect the outcome so that it does not come to pass. If this card is positive, we can take heart in the fact that we can naturally sort of head towards this energy just by saying yes in the month of June. I feel like that is the key to my Leos, is if new opportunities present themselves, if they feel right spiritually, if they turn you on at the soul level, or they're feeling right monetarily, I kind of feel like there's this blending. Some of my Leos might go into spiritual work, hence the spirit and the money, right? Some of my Leos might be moving into that sort of a new realm. And that energy is this being aces on either side, or these opportunities, these possibilities will, I kind of get the feeling will be fast moving. Earth energy, right, Pentacles tends to be a bit slower, but coupled with this Wands energy, which is probably the fastest energy, I feel like, the fastest element, the one that moves quickest, it's spirit, right? It speeds up that earth energy. All right, so let's see what the outcome is. We have the Four of Cups. Okay, now, the Four of Cups to me is about emotional stability. There's nothing wrong with this. It's not like sort of the big bang on, like, I was hoping for a more impactful card. This does not feel like a bad card. To me, this feels like emotional stability. This feels like we're heading in a place that is good. Let me just look at this card. What is going on here? Why is that a flower behind her? It looks like a bunch of arms. To me, they're sort of celebrating. It looks like that one is dancing. That lady's hugging him at the waist. Do you see that? To me, our Leos are still being adored. This is the Leo, the standing person that's kind of, it looks like he's sort of dancing or hanging out. I feel like our Leos are being adored by the woman that's below us. I think that I look at this and it almost looks like he's looking at all of these cards here in this reading. You see how his face is pointing up towards all of this? Like at the end of the month, you guys are going to feel this sort of emotional contentment, this stability. And I feel like there's this amazement on his face where he's looking back and reflecting back on the month of June and going, oh my God, did that just fucking happen? That's kind of what I hear this card saying. And being really balanced and emotionally grateful. Like this is sort of celebratory and gregarious and kind of a little bit definitely appreciative, but this feels like a more profound emotional appreciation for the experiences that you have throughout the month of June and the opportunities that present themselves to you. And if you stay in this sort of wonderful bouncy Three of Cups kind of energy, it's going to lead you to this more stable, what's the word, like rooted emotional appreciation for everything that's going on. I'm interested to see what July brings for you guys, because you guys will be moving into Leo season, and these cards could get even, I don't know that they could even get better, but they might. And I think that emotionally, this stability that we see in this Four brings about even more opportunity to sort of be built upon in the month to come in July, if that makes sense. You guys, this is definitely, I feel like this weird connecting of heaven and earth for you guys. That would be, if I was to name this, if I was to give a title to this reading, it's definitely about heaven and earth, heaven and earth, and Leo just sort of celebrating in the middle of it all and just letting it roll, saying yes to everything that you can that feels right and looks right and good, and not getting caught up in anything that drags you down or lowers your vibration or makes you feel like it's like you're above it already. The Emperor, you've already dealt with all that stuff. All right, that is your Leo reading for June. I hope that makes sense. Please leave me a comment. Again, I don't have the chat box on, so I can't see any comments that are happening right now, but I need to get on to Sagittarius before my connection drops. So thank you for tuning in. Please tune in next month. Give the channel a subscribe if you like the video. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Help me build subscriptions there. I would greatly appreciate it if you have a YouTube account. My daily forecasts go up there for the Greater Collective, and there's other stuff there that you can look at. So let me get into Sagittarius. My Sag, Sagittarians. So this is for June of 2020 for sign of Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, Rising, our heavily placed planets in the sign of Sagittarius. My Neptune is in Sagittarius, but Neptune is a generational planet. Like a lot of people of my generation will have. Neptune moves very slowly through signs. And if you guys are interested in supporting the channel, ways to do so, that's all on the beginning of this video. If you go back and watch it, I would appreciate that too. Please give the video a like and a share. All of that stuff helps. So what's going on with my Sagittarius? Alright, Sag, ready? Not the clearest cut there, Sag. Okay, so let's see what's going on for Sagittarius. This is this first card is sort of where you guys are going to be centered at for the month of June. It tells me a little bit about sort of what's going on for you. Not the entire month of June, but you might go in and out of this sort of card throughout June. Gives me sort of an idea of the theme for you. Also, it gives me insight into what you could potentially be creating for the future, because if this is where you're centered at, you're kind of running that energy, if that makes sense. So, this is the Knight of Swords. Okay, this came up, I feel like, with Gemini as their center card. So to me, this is all about, knights are the energy of fire, swords are the energy of air, right? Fire feeds air, air, you know, feeds fire. They kind of work together, they're complementary. Sag is a fire sign, so I like that you have this knight in your, which represents fire, in your center. And I like that he's rearing his horse. It feels like my Sages feel like they've thought things through. They're sort of maybe ready to make a decision or ready to make movement. They might be sort of, there might be new information that comes to you throughout the month of June, because generally knights represent the bringing of new information or awareness. Pages would be the learning of new information or awareness. So there might be things that come to light in the month of June, or have come to light previous that now Sag is holding on to or aware of, and they're ready to sort of move forward with all of sort of the facts known. That's the discernment, excuse me, that's the discernment of the Swords energy. I do want to say this, I love that this looks like a Sagittarian, right? Half man, half horse. Although this is full man on full horse. That sounds so dirty, full man on full horse. But to me, we've got the horse represented, we've also got the man represented. So you get the Sag reference there, right? So this feels very at home for you guys, even though it's not necessarily a fire sign, right? It's not a Wands card, but it is Swords card, which is your complementary element. I like that that's your center. I feel like you guys feel empowered in this center. I feel like you guys are in that sort of state of Sagittarian service. That's also the Knight aspect of this card. It feels to me like you guys sort of like that role. There's an honor there. There's a pride there that I feel like is here. And so with that, I feel like this is a good center for you in the month of June, because you guys can move forward in whatever it is that you're kind of aiming towards. It's funny, even with this sword, it makes me think of the Sag with the archery, you know, how they have their bow and arrow. To me, it's like you guys are pointing your sword going, I'm going there. Like, I have decided that is what I'm doing. And so it feels like the wheels are maybe being put into motion in the month of June, maybe throughout the month of June, right? Steps may be taken, bigger steps, smaller steps, it all depends on where you're heading. This could be, you know, new horizons in a lot of different avenues for a lot of different Sagittarians, so you have to apply it to your life and your situation. But it feels like movement is happening, opportunity could be happening. There is that dynamism of fire happening. No, I'm not answering that. I don't want to answer that. Sorry guys, my phone is ringing. There is this opportunity for the dynamism of fire to push you forward, and the clarity of the swords of sort of having thought it out, There's also this aspect, like I said, of being of service, not only to others, but also to yourself. I feel like there's this, can we hang this up? Ugh, thank you. There's also this aspect where I feel like you guys have maybe been of service leading up. We'll see what the foundation card is, but I feel like this Knight energy feels like it's been around for a little while. So you guys have maybe been of service. Leading up to this point, and you're kind of settled in this role, and you're sort of like, okay, I know that I've done right, or I've done the best that I can, and now it's time to go. Does that make sense? Okay. The next card is your foundation card. This tells me a little bit about sort of what led up to what took place in the months previous to lead up to this point to get us here. It's also the memory of this card that kind of keeps us in this place. So this is the Ten of Pentacles. Ten of Pentacles is the energy of Earth and definitely financial matters. Tens are completions of cycles, for sure. To me, this says that my Sages, it's interesting, either this being the Ten of Pentacles, I get this weird feeling that either you're ending something materially, or you've recently ended something materially. You've had to let go of something that might have seemed abundant, or maybe some of you have lost jobs. Some of you have lost maybe relationships. Relationships would fall more like it kind of borders cups and pentacles for me. So to me, the completion aspect here is important in this position of it being the foundation. It being a 10 card to me speaks to this idea of, okay, my Sages have recently in the last few months, situations that maybe have been abundant for them in the past or have been good, they've kind of either become bored, they've decided to move on, they've decided, and the reason why I say this is also, he's got his back turned to this kind of castle in the background. And I feel like these 10 pentacles don't necessarily mean that you guys are broke or that you lost anything. It's like, I'm almost taking my toys and going home, or I'm taking my things and I'm done with this, is sort of the feeling that I get with this card, right? And this will be done with, for some of you, it could be done with your homes, it could be done with your jobs, it could be done with your relationships, with certain people, right? But whatever it is, you've kind of come to terms with that, and from those terms, you're ready to sort of move on. And that's this idea of having done things completely, right? That's the 10 that we have here, and done them in a way that was sort of noble. Knights always represent nobility to me. And service, right? So you guys, some new information might come to you, like I said, or some new awareness, or you've gained some new awareness maybe in the recent past that has allowed you to understand where you've done right, where you've been of service, where you've been noble, and you're able to sort of complete this cycle, and you're ready to move forward, okay? I hope that makes sense. You guys will have to let me know what's going on with you. So the next card is your spirit or soul card. This tells me a bit about sort of where your spirit or soul is at. I also want to say this, Sag, I'm just getting this hit as I'm moving to the next card, what I'm feeling or sensing. This being in this position not only says that you're done with one cycle, right, environmentally, so this would be like your job, your home, materially, right? This is your environment. Not only have you come to a completion or an awareness, or you've kind of worked it to its bone, like it's done, and I don't mean work it to its bone like in a bad way. I mean like you kind of have come to this idea that, nope, this is done. This being the 10 of Pentacles in this position of the foundation card is sort of what is the goal that is pushing everything forward, right? This is the memory of this that is keeping everything in play here. Everything is built upon this card. So this card is taking on a dual meaning for me right now, because not only does it say that you've completed a cycle or come to terms with the completion of a cycle, but it also speaks to this idea of the abundance that's in the 10 of Pentacles, right? And this being in your foundation not only says, we're done with this chapter, but we know this abundance. We've had it before, we want it again, and we are going about creating it again with this Knight heading into the future. Does that make sense? Because I'm definitely hearing that before I go to the next card. There's this dual meaning with this. It's like there's this completion of cycle that you've maybe come to in the last month or two. but you're also being driven by the abundance that the Ten of Pentacles represents, it being in your foundation, that's going to enable you to potentially recreate not the same situation, but this abundance again. Does that make sense? Similar to like how Aries had that Empress card in the bottom position in this foundation card. That energy driving my Aries through the month of June has this focus of uh, creativity, fertility, opportunity for growth, all of that sort of stuff. So this to me feels like, yes, we're completing things, and yes, we may be ending things in certain areas of our material world, but we're also doing that so that we can go about creating new levels of abundance. That's also what the Ten of Pentacles represents in the future by heading off. And I'm going to use this joke because I used it in Gemini, but he's got his sword up in his horse's rear and he's ready to go. It's like onward ho. So get to it, hoes, like my hoey Sagittarians. You guys have this opportunity to sort of build again. And I feel like you guys want that. Like, that's the excitement part of it for you. All right, so now let's get to the Soul Spirit card. This is what your Solar Spirit wants you to work on, what it wants you to kind of figure out or focus on in the month of June. So this is the Nine of Wands. I like that this is Wands energy, which is fire, and that's your home element, and also Wands represents the spirit. The Nine of Wands is always about, to me, personal completion, right before getting into the Tens. Tens is usually about like sort of not only personal completion, but completion for those around us, is how I see it. When we really fully, like, everybody benefits from the 10, right? It's like nines is us benefiting. When we reach that 10 pinnacle moment, we kind of we're able to move into the next chapter, right? But everybody else sort of also is able to be done, if that makes sense. It's more of a group communal completion. This Nine of Wands up in the spirit space says to me, yes, Sag, be in your home element, be focused on spirit, be focused on what sort of honors you, what feels right at a deeper spiritual level, trusting one's intuition, trusting one's sort of internal guidance system. I feel like that's a very safe thing to do. I also feel like I love this card because Nine of Wands is such a sort of spiritually, like, not full, but like adept card. But I feel like she's sort of standing there in all of her regalia, and then if you see that little guy behind her, he to me feels like a spirit guide. He feels like maybe a guardian angel, or he's not necessarily got wings, but he looks like a little spirit guide, like kind of following along with her as she, like, travels off in her finery with her big staff, right? So this feels like about celebrating oneself, enjoying oneself, exploring who you are spiritually, really understanding that, feeling that abundance, feeling that connection to spirit in this month of June. And I feel like, again, this is what also attributes and adds to this night fire energy that's in this Swords card, right? So we have all of this fire, desire, understanding at a spiritual level coming from our higher self, internally within ourselves, sort of celebrating ourselves, maybe getting messages from spirit. That's this little guy here that's kind of right behind us, supporting us and pushing us forward on our path, similar to this horse kind of bringing us forward in this night. It's like these are the things that are igniting us. No pun intended. Get it? Ignite. Igniting us to move forward. Okay. So I'm gonna put her up here. So listening to our own spirit is good. Reveling in that in the month of June is good. Honoring that, connecting to that, sticking with that. Being aware of your own. Sorry for the dog is really snoring all of a sudden, but being aware of where you've done right, where you've handled things. Like, to me, the night energy in the center feels like this idea of honoring yourself through the honorable acts you've done for others, if that makes sense. Okay? And that also attributes a little bit to this Nine of Wands up here, this sort of feeling of having done it spiritually, been spiritually connected as you've made decisions, moving forward in an appropriate manner. All of that sort of stuff is all very Nice. I also want to say this too as I'm looking at these cards. This 10 of Pentacles and this 9 of Wands, both representing sort of that abundance that we have earth energy down here, we have fire energy up here. It's that sort of, again, we just saw this in Leo a little bit, but that is this sort of heaven and earth thing going on. And I don't know why that's happening, but to me, with you guys, this feels like new chapters are beginning. Do you see that? There's some sort of, I feel like with this being down in your foundation space, feels like there's some significant change that starts to transpire in the month of June. Some significant material, environmental decision that you guys are completing and moving towards the creation of new abundance. And it's like this 9 and 10 are, they're almost working together. It's the feeling that I'm getting, like, does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. All right, so let me get to the outside influences. These are people, sometimes events. They can be things more vague, like beliefs or energies, belief systems we've adopted or been taught, or energies that are affecting us. They don't necessarily, they're not of us, but they are around us, affecting us positively or negatively in the month of June. So let's see what's going on. We have the Wheel of Fortune. Speaking of that little angel, that little spirit guide, do you see him there at her feet? Okay, the Wheel of Fortune is always exactly this. The wheel spins in the way that we choose to view it. When I look at this, I feel like this knight is pointing his sword and facing the wheel, pointing to the future, with his horse raring and ready to go, right? He's thought about it, he's ready, he's clear, he knows, like, he's sort of done the right thing in the previous months, or has tried to do the best thing for everybody involved, whatever, I'm not sure. But he's now looking towards this Wheel of Fortune and beginning to spin this Wheel of Fortune. This Wheel of Fortune to me feels like, you know, sort of our environment, the universe, whatever coming in at us and allowing us or enabling us to have the opportunity to create big change in a very beneficial way, but we have to be willing to take those steps. We have to be willing to, it's funny, when I look at this completion of this 10 of Pentacles down here, we have to be willing and aware that we've created this abundance before, we've completed this cycle, we're done here, we're able to move on to creating something new, and the Wheel of Fortune is there to provide it. The Wheel of Fortune is always, well, I won't say always, but to me it feels like it can be a slower moving energy, so there may be some patience involved, there might be some blind faith involved. This knight feels like he's got that blind faith, he feels like he's ready to go, he knows that he's able and willing to handle the journey, if that makes any sense. And that's because we have this 9 of Wands happening here, which is this deep spiritual connection to self, and this awareness and appreciation, and this abundance of that, this connection that is strong within himself, with his spirit guides, that sort of thing. Also here, our guides are leading us towards this Wheel of Fortune, is what I feel like with this little angel here. He's kind of going, so, hey, you ready to do this? That's what I feel like is happening there. Now, the other outside influence, and this has, also with the Wheel of Fortune, I have to say, it's major arcana, so it's going to have a significant impact, either positively or negatively. So if my Sages are focused on the negative, then they're going to sort of spin the wheel backwards and maybe get stuck. But I don't feel like that's the case with these cards, only because you have this 9 and this 10 here, which both are like these sort of completion cycles, these abundant cards, this awareness of abundance. Right? And then this knight to me is that energy of fire and the intellect sort of working together, the spirit and the intellect working together to push you forward. So it feels like you're aware that it's time. So if your planets are in something a little bit different and you are having negative thoughts, but you are a Sag, or you have, you know, a heavily placed Sag stuff, then something might need to be looked at, if that makes any sense. Because to me, I just want to say for my Sagittarius, this feels like this could be a positive outcome. Like it doesn't feel like there's room for spinning the wheel the wrong direction. Does that make sense? Okay, then the next card coming out is the 4 of Pentacles. Fours always represent stability. Pentacles is that earth energy again. Now, when I look at this Ten of Pentacles and this man that's sort of walking away from whatever this castle is, whatever maybe is in his past, he's taking his toys and he's leaving with him, but he's got this focus looking up here at this energy. I always, like, I saw this, I feel like, was this in Gemini too? I know that this was in somebody else's position in the same same position, different reading. This card was in the same position. This Four of Pentacles is that energy of money stability moving towards you, right? So I feel like there's a couple things going on here, so I'm just going to say them all really quick. This Ten of Pentacles feels like taking our toys and going home, or taking our toys and moving on. Packing up our toy box and moving on is sort of the feeling. Taking whatever material things we need or have that are important to us and sort of focusing on allowing this night to move forward, right? As we're doing that, this guy who has created stability before in the past, that's the Ten of Pentacles, this abundance, is looking up at this Four of Pentacles energy. Or person, this could be somebody offering an opportunity for stability financially. This could be somebody offering more material, not balance, because eights are about balance, but this is about stability. This could be stability in home life. This could be stability in money. This could be stability in relationships, that sort of a thing. It doesn't necessarily have to be an external person either. It could be just situations that are coming to my Sages that could be bringing, and the reason there is stability because it's a Four, but there's also a little bit of balance with this scales here, right? But there's also this idea, the scales to me look like this idea of fairness, balance and fairness. It's interesting to me because he's stepping out from behind a shield. I'm not sure. So this might be the new information that is part of the night, something maybe we didn't see, an opportunity. It may not necessarily be the grandest of opportunities, that's the Four aspect of this, but it will be a safe opportunity. It will be an opportunity that brings about a stability, a balance, a fairness, that can sort of help us to set up this Wheel of Fortune energy to dream again. Or not to dream again, because you guys can dream, but to dream bigger. Does that make sense? I feel like these two are working in conjunction with one another. So if my Sagittarius are feeling risky by making these changes with this completion card and moving forward in this energy to the sort of unknown, because if you look at this card, there's no real castle or anything that he's heading towards. Like, I feel like my Sagittarius may not necessarily know where they're heading, they just know that they need to get there. That's some of this Nine of Wands spiritual energy of trusting sort of our internal voice, our guidance, our intuition. That might be propelling us forward, and that might feel a little bit like not quite so planned and could be a little bit scary. So I feel like that's where this Four of Pentacles comes in and offers a little bit of balance, a little bit of stability, so that my nights can continue to sort of dream and continue to kind of pursue this Wheel of Fortune and continue to push it in a direction that brings about mass opportunity. The Wheel of Fortune always brings really good opportunity when it's turned in the right direction, right? And to me, when I'm looking at this card, the most significant card that you guys have on this board is this Wheel of Fortune. So to me, it's the only major that you have right now until we get to the outcome card. So to me, this speaks to the idea that the universe is ready to serve you in a really big way if you allow it. But you guys have to sort of make those completions, make those choices to sort of move forward, if that makes sense, in the month of June. Now, this last card is the potential outcomes for the month of June. This is not set in stone. It is just sort of a overview of where June is going to end out for most of my Sages. If this is a negative card, we can use it as a warning and make choices and changes to affect the outcome, so it's not set in stone. I have to really stress that. If it's a positive card, though, we can take heart in the fact that this is where you guys are naturally headed, barring that nothing major changes. So let's see what's the outcome for you guys. Beautiful. So this is Temperance. Temperance is all about balance. And she pours those 2 cups. Can you guys see that? Let me get it. There you go. She's pouring that water, which represents sort of emotions. There's new growth. The lily's there, growing at her feet. The sun is behind her head, right? Lighting her head, her awareness from the 7th chakra, her knowing. There's a peace. There's a, with Temperance, there's a balance there. So by the month's end, even though you might feel like you don't know where you're heading or how you're going to get there, I feel like by month's end, this Temperance card says to me that there will be a balance, a peace, an emotional sort of settling that will happen in a rather profound way. Again, this outcome of it being, you have this Wheel of Fortune card as an outside influence, major arcana. Temperance is also major arcana. Okay, so to me, the outcome for June is significant, it's beneficial, it's good. Temperance is a great card. She's about peace, she's about balance, she's about connecting one's emotional self. That's her pouring the water back and forth, not being overrun by her emotions, but being in contact with her emotions. New growth is this lily for me, so there's new opportunities for growth and beauty in your life. There's this new opportunity for hearing and understanding one's knowing. That would be the light behind her head, or the halo to me that signifies sort of 7th chakra knowing energy. Trusting one's intuition, which we see again up here in this 9 of Wands. Again, we have this angel imagery in the Wheel of Fortune, and we have this giant angel at the end, which says to me that guidance is around us. Whether we're using our own spiritual internal GPS here, or we're listening to our guides. For my Sages, you guys, there's opportunity here to move yourself forward, if that makes sense. So any of my Sages that may be unhappy where they are, or not, things don't feel like they're connecting right, or they're not as abundant as they may have been in the past, you guys can recreate that abundance, and you will. You may have to start out a bit slower, or more, stabilize yourself as you move forward, but by the month's end, you're going to feel like that strong, almost peace with where you're heading and the decisions that have been made. That's my reading for Sag. I hope that makes sense. I'm so glad the video didn't drop. You guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Please like, share, comment, subscribe if you don't mind. You can always book a private reading with me if you want to just see your specific cards for the month of June. That's always available to anybody. You just message me at the Facebook business page and I can do that for you. Readings are payable via PayPal. Private readings are payable via PayPal and are done over Facebook Messenger or video. Tune in, hit the subscribe button and the bell either at the business page or at YouTube or both, so that you get notified when I do live events. And again, just share these videos out with your friends that maybe want to hear these messages. These are broad spectrum messages for a lot of different people, so keeping that in mind. If cards don't necessarily resonate with you, or the reading doesn't resonate, that doesn't mean anything's wrong or that bad things are going to happen to you. It just means that you might be on a different trajectory or path that could be even better than what I'm seeing in these cards, right? So there's always that to keep in mind. And I look forward to seeing you guys in July. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great day. I love you all, and bye-bye.